Hi, honey. What you doing today? Hi. Did you know I was coming out here to wash some cars? Hmm? Yeah. Hi. I really, at one point in my life, used to really enjoy washing and detailing all these cars, but now there's 4 of them. And I don't know if I've necessarily got it all in me anymore. Ain't that right? But I specifically want to do the Grand Am today because, well, that's kind of what this vlog's about. And now I gotta move 2 of these cars, and honestly I wanted to do maybe the Saab also, and because it's just been sitting there. And hey, I don't know what I saw you carrying over to your house yesterday morning, but kudos to you. She got something yesterday. She was trotting across the street back over to her house, and she looked like she was so happy. Alright. You're gonna come over here. Yeah, hi. Okay. I got work to do now. Oh, I know, it's rolly time. Yeah, I know. I know. Oh, you're such an attention getter. Yes, you are. I was thinking about putting the Civic here, angle it into the yard a little bit, but we're just gonna leave it down there for now. And I wanted to start with this one today because a couple reasons. It's got to look nice because we got to talk about 3 years of ownership with this car. And you know, it really doesn't look all that bad. It's actually relatively, it's not the dirtiest of the cars, but why not make it look good for our presentation later on this afternoon? And also on the 4th of July, somebody in the neighborhood was actually setting off some pretty large fireworks, and there was a cardboard tube that was here on the trunk, but also I think some of the remnants of whatever powder, gunpowder or whatever was in fireworks, I think it stayed on here for a while. You can kind of see the film, and I think it'll come off. Yeah, it'll come off. And I don't know, for some reason this is the one that I felt like washing today. I'd like to get them all done today, which that's definitely not going to happen. It's already a little later in the afternoon. So there's no way all of these cars are getting done today, but you know, it's also warm, sun, lots. of sun today. And I don't know, I'm gonna be hungry after this. But the Saab, well, I thought about making another video right after this today, and part of me actually thought about maybe driving the Saab as well, because the Saab has been sitting here for a long while at this point. She has not been started up in about 2 weeks, and I probably should get it moving again. But enough of that. We're going to focus on getting the Grand Am clean, and then I'm going to tell you about the last 3 years with this thing. Not that, honestly, there's a whole lot to tell, but I'm going to do it anyway. really well, doesn't she? It really does. 3 years ago, this week actually, is when I purchased this 2003 Pontiac Grand Am GT Coupe. And I did not necessarily want a broken down one, but obviously, I guess that's just what I do. I find the broken ones and I bring them back to life. And this one in particular really was not too bad as far as bringing it back. It was still technically living when I bought the thing, but she was heavily wounded. Heavily wounded. The sunroof is stuck open. We have one new headlight assembly. The other one is still pretty fogged. We have one fog light. The other fog light is in the car, I believe. It hit something, you can tell. It's either broken or stuck. Might be looking for some new buttons because these are all worn out. It is still on hot. The air conditioning does not work. That definitely sounds like upper end noise. That's pretty disgusting looking. And you know what? We made it work. And like I said, definitely not as severe as the 2001 Aztec that I had bought before this. This one here was a little easier to work with. She didn't have too much to worry about. The main thing was obviously the engine, because the head gaskets or intake gaskets were gone, and this thing was had so much chocolate milk in it. It was disgusting. I am surprised that it even ran as good as it did then. Barely, but it runs even better now. And we obviously caught it just in time. But there were other things here and there, little electrical issues here and there with like the stereo system, the wiring, and had to get a horn for it, which right now doesn't work because the airbag hub, the contact in the airbag is I think stuck, so we cannot use the horn. I had to take the relay out of it. But tell you what, man, phenomenal car, absolutely phenomenal. And it's hard to believe that, when I bought this thing, $750 from the seller, who was getting rid of it because obviously it had issues, and she was in the process of moving, and she just had to get rid of it. But I bought it for $750, and to be quite honest, I kind of lost track of how much I put into it over the course of 3 years. I think we are still around the $1,000 mark, and that's not including the 700. So I'm talking about the things that we did to it: the gasket kits, all 4 brakes, some slightly used junkyard tires, a taillight assembly back here, a couple of factory monsoon stereo units until I finally got a good working one, which is in there now. Yeah, I mean, just things like that. And she's still, I want to say I'm still around $1,000. Now last summer, we did have a couple of major repairs, and that included I guess technically it would be considered within this 3rd year of ownership, because the water pump, we did the water pump, probably, I forget now, it was either right after our 2-year anniversary or just before, but we did the water pump, and then in either August or September, the starter went on it. And that's it. That's all I've had to do to it within the last year. And she is still running really well. Now, obviously the cosmetics are not the best. This is by far one of the best looking Grand Am GT Coupes I think you're going to see, at least here in the northeastern Ohio, or north, anywhere where there's like salt and stuff, that eats these cars up. But this is definitely one of the better ones that you're going to find around here. And far from perfect, but I'll tell you what, we still don't have any major rusting. It's coming though, it is. I've pointed this out I think a few times here. This rust spot here is slowly getting bigger. Is that sticking out? No. Oh, that's because we got some rusting here. So yeah, it's gonna start, you know, it's gonna start making its way through. This car is 20 years old this year, so I mean, that's, for it not actually showing up beforehand is actually pretty good. We do have this little blemish here starting to kind of discolor, so there's that. And what else? My towel really didn't dry up too good up there. Oops. I don't know. I thought there was maybe one more spot. Oh, this. Now I kind of showed you this, but you know, at some point in time, it looks like this was all touched up, and it's coming off. In fact, I kind of noticed that today. There's all these little white specks and odd rust spots, just these little dots here and there. Well, all of that had touch-up paint on it. You were kind of able to see, and I think the paint has been coming off, wearing off, so it is actually exposing the metal. I found some up here, and a couple of spots on the hood too where these chips are, but you can see there was touch-up paint around the areas that are kind of poking through. This spot over here unfortunately has already started to discolor the hood, so she's not going to stay perfect forever, by all means. I mean, this thing is, you know, we're not going to do any kind of paint correction or anything. I think the washing and the spray wax is pretty much all we're going to do to it from now on, because I mean, you know, she's old, and unfortunately the like I said, northeastern part of the country where we deal with snow and salt and stuff, well, obviously the salt has already taken care of the underside of this car, so it's only a matter of time, I'm sure, before that rear suspension has nothing to hold on to. It's still good right now, but there's going to come a day where the rust is going to be making this car completely unsafe. As you saw in the video earlier, we tried to get rid of the yellow of this headlight. Now, this headlight was brand new when I got this car. The lady I bought it from, there was, you know, obviously there was impact here, and the fender was pushed upward. So yeah, a pole or something hit this and probably broke the headlight lens. The headlight's actually pushed back, but there was a new headlight lens there, and unfortunately it's turning yellow now, which is pretty common. This headlight that I bought for this car in 21 is actually doing better right now, and I thought about, you know, obviously getting another one. I still might, but you guys hear that fly? Jeez. But oh man, but anyway, I might still do it, but I tried to, you know, get rid of the yellowing a little bit with the rubbing compound and the polish, and unfortunately, well, it brightened it up, but it still got the weird yellow tint, unfortunately. The wheels still clean up fantastically, which I'm really surprised about. And what else cosmetically? We replaced these with some used door garnishes here, so we did that one there, and we did the other one over here. These started rusting out really bad, and I happened to come across some on another Grand Am Coupe, and I couldn't resist. I should have taken this also, because this is starting to kind of get cruddy, but I'm sure I can always go back and get one. But just, it's amazing how replacing that part there and replacing the other part here, like this one is not perfect, but it is so much nicer than what the other one was. Like the rust that was just kind of coming through on that one was terrible, and it is now looking somewhat better. There might be a little bit of rust starting here, but there again, if I have to, I can go find another one. It's really not that big a deal. And of course the inside, well, again, she is definitely not in the best perfect condition, but she is better than most. Let's put the window down here. There we go, that's better. So yeah, this one's in really decent shape for what it is. I haven't vacuumed it out yet this year, so please excuse, like, you know, the mess and such. But you know what? The only real issue that happened cosmetically was the top vent has exploded. I don't know if you can see, but the grate exploded one day, and that was the end of that. So all the pieces of it are actually sitting on the passenger floor. There's no way to replace it because the dash from the sun, you know, it's kind of curled up, and there's no real fixing that. So we just deal with it as is. It's not that big a deal. But yeah, and of course, you know, because the fender's pushed in, well, it is what it is. There's no way of fixing that because the body's rusted out. In fact, you can kind of see, yeah, she's definitely getting crispy. It's gonna be only a matter of time before these lower rocker moldings here probably start to wanna hang down some, maybe fall off, unfortunately. Currently at 132,092 miles, which means I've got just about 14,500-ish miles on this vehicle. The mileage when I bought it was 118,458. So we're somewhere around there. It's in the last 3 years only put just shy of 15,000 miles on it at the current moment. Now, as far as the rest of the interior, everything in here pretty much works, except this, this one. This door lock actuator doesn't work. You gotta lock the door manually on that side. And the horn did work, like I said, but we had to pull the fuse and relay because something in here is stuck, and it won't turn off the horn. Yeah, other than that, everything else works. All of the backlights at this time are still glowing. We did have to get another window regulator. It is still working perfectly fine. We did that within the last year also, I think it was. My eBay radio is still working, but as you can see, when it gets warm, when the display gets hot, some of the lettering and stuff starts to fade. The camera is actually picking it up pretty well, but oh yeah, you can kind of see the one. So the one kind of went away. So something about when this gets hot, it starts to act a little weird, but nonetheless, it is still working. And as long as it stays cool enough, all of the letters and numbers and stuff are still totally legible and stuff. The cassette player still works. The CD player is obviously the reason why I wanted it to also working CD player. The air conditioning still works. Still works. I recharged it 2 years ago, and I haven't had to touch it since. And that's surprising because when I bought the car, the AC didn't work at all. So I just thought, hey, let's charge it up, and it works. That was definitely like a hidden surprise by doing that to this car. And everything else is just as it is. The sunroof still leaks, but it hasn't been leaking often this season. It leaks down there, so the tube that goes from here down the pillar, and then it stops and comes out the body of the car, like right here, mid dash in a way. Something about it is still weird, and it'll sometimes, depending on how hard or the angle of the car, I think it has to do with the angle, but anyway, it'll pond a little bit right there, and it hasn't done it in months. So I don't know if maybe the last time I cleaned out the drain I really got the culprit, or I've just been parking it at some pretty good angles and keeping the water from really going down that way, maybe more toward the back or maybe more toward this side, who knows. But she's been good. There has not been any real issues with the leak as of lately. The gas gauge. So this is new. I don't think it's doing it right now, is it? No, let's see. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom in really close to that needle. So for the first time, not yesterday, but I drove the car the day before, and this gauge for the first time fluttered when it was between the 1/2 and 3/4 mark, the day that I drove it, and it fluttered. It was a very noticeable flutter, and I kept my eye on it for a little while, and then once it moved from that specific spot, I haven't seen it do it since. So whether that's gonna be a thing or not, I don't know. Oh look, it moved. It went up. So I don't know if this gauge is actually gonna start acting weird, if it's the gauge itself, or if it has to do with the oh, what's it called? The piezometer in the tank. I think it's a piezometer. Basically the float arm. So there might be a bare spot or something on that resistor for the float in the tank. Or there could be another wiring issue, but yeah, as we can see, we've been sitting here and it kind of went up a little bit. So I don't know, for the most part in my 3 years of ownership, that gauge has actually been pretty reliable. So I'm actually going to be kind of sad if it actually starts becoming an issue. There's a small evap leak somewhere. It must have just occurred. So it's a P0442 small evap leak. I'm not worried about it right now. I fixed a large leak a long time ago with a vacuum hose under the hood, and well, I don't know. I'm not going to chase down a small one. Car seems to be running good. That's, you know, whatever. Now I don't care what anybody says. GM's 3.4 liter 3400 V6 is honestly one of my favorite engines ever. And this is what, the fourth application that I've had with it. The Alero, both of the Aztecs, and now this. So this is my 4th 3400 engine. And for the most part, as long as you catch the issues in time, I'm convinced this thing will run forever. This engine will most likely outlive the rest of this car, and that's kind of sad, because when it comes time to get rid of the car, I honestly wish I can save this engine and you know, find another Grand Am to put it in, you know, or such. But this thing has been phenomenal, and the fact that we were able to pretty much bring it back from the brink of death is, you know, still very, very satisfying. It runs really good. You can kind of hear a little bit of that AC chatter, like I said. But other than that, I mean, this thing still runs like a champ. I mean, she runs perfectly smooth, and I thought for sure she was going to be a goner when we brought it home from day one. But she has proved me wrong. Oil changes every 3,000 miles. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. As soon as it rounds out to that 3,000 mark, she's getting an oil change. And everything oil-wise, since we've done the gaskets and such, has been really good. The inside of that engine, for the most part, at least most of the top half anyway, should still be as clean as a whistle. Unfortunately, I couldn't do everything with the lower end, so we just did, you know, a couple of engine flushes, you know, once it was running good, and no sign of any kind of contamination or anything, man. She's been great. We got the water pump, like I said last year. We did the coolant bottle also, because I think the coolant tank, around the time the water pump issue kind of happened, I think this tank cracked, so I found a used one. And so far, none of those weird issues have taken place since both of those were done. And of course the starter, you know, we did the starter also. And this battery, junkyard battery, that's been in there for 2 years now. It's been a great car. I see either some dirt or, yeah, it looks like dirt maybe from here, I don't know. But I did paint all that, and I can see this dark spot here, but it is what it is. She ain't gonna stay perfect forever, but it sure looks a lot better than it did when it came home. I love this car. It's even got ram air, which really doesn't do anything, but it's still kind of cool. So yeah, you guys know all about my history with this car. Not necessarily this one in general, but you know, the Grand Am, the 5th gen Grand Am. This is a car that I have wanted ever since I was a teenager. I've had many opportunities to get one of these, you know, when they were still relatively new and or newer, but I never did. And you know, when the time came to get another project car, I knew exactly that I wanted to go for one of these, and didn't like I said, didn't really want to find one that was gonna need an engine rebuild, even though if I didn't do it when I got it, it was probably gonna happen eventually. But I had to have one of these, at least one of these in my lifetime, just because it's a car that I had always, you know, pretty much got excited about from the time I was a teenager. And my aunt had hers. She didn't only have one, she had two. One of them ended up being an 03 GT. And it's actually like the car that I took my driving test in. And you know, I just I just really loved this car, and I had to have one. A lot of people look at these cars and, you know, for the most part, a lot of them are just junk today. They're absolute junk. And, you know, this car is technically junk too. You know, it's a 20-year-old, you know, junker, beater with a heater at this point. But, you know, just the way that I try to take care of it, and the way that I cherish this car, and, you know, it's obviously more than that to me. There's definitely more of a sentimental value with the Grand Am name, you know, and it all kind of, you know, brings out like that kid in me, you know, every time that I drive this thing. You know, when I was 16, I had my first car, which was a Pontiac Sunbird. It was also a coupe, and I absolutely loved that car. Around the same time, you know, when I was 16, 17 years old, you know, I really wanted this car. You know, my aunt had just gotten her 03 version of this car, you know, and because she had already had one before, it just really made me, you know, want to get one of these. And I did. It just took me like over 20 years to get it. But no, I mean, this car still drives really well. The alignment on it, you know, I did an alignment on it within the first year at work. The alignment is perfect. It rattles and stuff, of course, because it's a lot of old GM plastic. That's to be expected. But I mean, I just love driving this car. I still, you know, just think it's a fun car to drive. I do get worried sometimes from time to time because, you know, transmission lines, yeah, those are gonna end up, you know, needing replaced. And the only real reason I haven't done them yet is because I don't want to tamper with the fluid. I don't know how long the transmission fluid's been in this car. It could still be the original fluid for all I know, but I don't want to mess with it. That's kind of what I'm afraid of. I know if I end up doing the fluid or the lines, I'm gonna have to mess with the fluid, and you know, so I've been putting that off. I know at some point that's probably gonna come to bite me in the butt when a line explodes and I'm in the middle of nowhere or something. So we can only hope that that doesn't actually happen. But I really do need to get the transmission lines done. And the power steering lines, I don't really know what the condition of the lines themselves are. But I don't know. Nothing really leaks from this car. Every now and then I'll notice some oil seepage. I think it's coming from the actual oil pan because, I mean, all of the upper gaskets have been done already, so that really only leaves the oil pan. And every now and then, I'll see a little speck of transmission fluid, but not enough to really be concerned. It's like the transmission picks like maybe a day out of the whole year to just leave me a few drips, and then that's it. It's gone. But this car hasn't lost enough fluid, I think, to really be concerned. It still drives like a top. But the gas gauge thing, I don't know. It is over half mark now, so I'll just have to start keeping more of an eye on it. I don't know. I just also still really like having a car with a V6 engine. I mean, just because of the sound, and you know, it still has pep, and all of my other cars are 4-cylinders now. When, like, you know, V6 engines used to be the norm. If you had a Grand Am with a V6, whether it was a GT or an SE model with the V6, you were like the king, man. You didn't settle for the wimpy, you know, Ecotec or the twin cam, you know, 4-cylinder before that. You said, no, I want the V6. I want the V6, and I want the badging on the fenders to prove it. But no, seriously, like I said, this is probably one of my favorite engines ever. They're easy to work on. They'll run forever. Now, today's exact date, as I'm filming this, is July 23rd, 2023. On this particular day, in 2020, this was the day that I started to film the final Aztec vlog. It was on this day, 3 years ago, that I went out to one of the parks in the area, and I broke the news to the camera and to you guys that the Aztec was indeed being sold to somebody else. Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to this sad installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs. I want to thank you for joining me today, because today is going to be the last vlog featuring the 2001 Pontiac Aztec GT, also known as VlogTech. And the next few days that would entail would be the final footage that I've ever filmed of the Aztec in my possession. And I believe it was January 27th when I finally filmed the very last part of that video, which was me taking off the license plates and removing the official VlogTech sticker, because the new owner of the car was going to come pick that car up after I had gotten home from work that day. I am supposed to be going to look at a car today. Hopefully, it'll work out this time. I was supposed to go look at one yesterday. I think I mentioned that already. I don't remember. But dude sold it. Didn't bother to tell me beforehand. So, hopefully, later on today, this one will still be there for me to at least look at. And on top of that, right after that car left my driveway with said new owner, well, that was also when we drove a little over an hour away to go see this car for the first time. And as much as I wanted to document that, I really wanted to take the camera and, you know, kind of film my first impressions of this car and everything. But I didn't. And I remember when I got there, it started to, well, actually, it was raining before we left. And then it stopped raining, and then it started raining again once we actually got to look at this car. But, yeah, I mean, after I looked at everything and kind of seen what I can see, and I couldn't drive it, so it was another one of them undrivable things, much like the Aztec was. But I went ahead and I handed her, you know, I think I put a down payment on it, and you know, she accepted like half of the money then, and then it was another few days before we could actually trailer it home. So obviously I paid the rest of the money in full the day that I went and picked it up, and then I got it home and we started our venture with this wonderful car right here. I think some people have asked me before, do I miss the Aztec, or do I? Well, yeah, I really miss the Aztec. I in a way still regret giving that car up, and honestly it was simply for the fact that I wasn't ready to get rid of it. There were other things wrong with it that were, you know, frustrating me here and there, but overall that car was still running in really, you know, good shape, and you could still get a few years out of it. I only sold it because I knew somebody I could help out, and it opened up the opportunity for me to get this thing. But yeah, so then, you know, do I like this car more than my Aztec, is another thing that I've been asked before. And the Aztec itself was definitely a memorable vehicle. I still want one. I want one so bad. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get another one. But, yeah, I most certainly loved the Aztec. Whether I like this car more or not is hard to say, because I have more of a sentimental, like I said earlier, I have more of that kind of feeling toward this car compared to the Aztec. This car is indeed more fun to drive than the Aztec. I loved driving the Aztec. I thought it was a fun car to drive too, but it's really, you know, that was more of like an SUV type thing. It still kind of drove like a car, which was the goal, I think, for that particular platform. But at the same time, you know, this car is obviously more sport designed, especially with the GT. The suspension and the steering, and obviously the Ram Air V6. This car is definitely way more fun to drive, and as far as me liking it more than the Aztec, like I said, it's hard to compare. I do have more of an attachment to this car, and it hurt really bad when I got rid of the Aztec. It's gonna hurt 3 times as bad probably when I have to get rid of this one. Alright guys, so that's it for today's vlog. 3 years with this thing, and I've said it before, I really am gonna be sad the day that it's gotta go. Keep on to it as long as we possibly can. If you enjoyed today's vlog, thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time, and I want to thank you so much for watching. Take care.